In 1977, a young woman named Michelle Carpenter began a journey that would lead her to become one of the rising stars of the adult entertainment industry. Known professionally as Arcadia Lake, her career in film was a troubled one, leading to a mysterious disappearance after just 6 years of filmmaking. Born in Brooklyn, New York on the 3rd of September 1958, Lake had no siblings and was brought up by a single mother of Chinese origins. Very little else is known about her childhood. Her story begins at the point she entered the industry. Lake, described by her peers as a stunningly beautiful and intelligent woman, was first introduced to the entertainment industry of 70s New York through her unemployed musician boyfriend, who persuaded her to try it. Initially, she had only made a few loops before she crossed paths with seasoned performer Rob Everett, aka industry legend Eric Edwards. When they first met, Edwards was living in his apartment on 57th Street in New York. Speaking in an interview with the Rialto Report, he described how their immediate chemistry led them to exchange phone numbers. A few days later, Edwards received a call from the manager of the Show World Center in Times Square, asking him to stand in for a live show. Lake had suggested him for the role, and he agreed to do it despite his lack of experience with live performances. Show World offered a variety of entertainment experiences across its multiple floors. Edwards and Lake performed 5 shows that day, having a surprising amount of fun together both on and off the stage. Recognizing Lake's potential, Edwards became an instrumental figure in her burgeoning career. He introduced her to key figures in the industry and provided opportunities for her to showcase her talent. One significant early break came when Edwards was cast in The Pussycat Ranch in 1978. He convinced director John Christopher to give Lake a small part, which she performed like a true professional. It marked her first real role in a feature film. Arcadia Lake's career rapidly took off from there. She received numerous offers from prominent New York directors and starred in the very well-received Misbehavin' in '78. Insane Desires and Business as Usual were also released that same year. However, it was her role in Debbie Does Dallas that changed everything. The film became a huge mainstream success, instantly catapulting the main cast to widespread fame. Outside of all this, Edwards and Lake were deeply in love. They traveled extensively, sometimes doing photo shoots at the locations to help fund their trips. High Society magazine published Arcadia and Eric in Eden, which proved very popular. Their relationship was marked by a lack of jealousy and a mutual understanding, providing a stable foundation for Lake's rising career. Even after Edwards found out about her addiction, his response was love and support. Determined to help Lake detox, he proposed they do it in Jamaica. The detox process was grueling and stretched over several months. After she was clean and understanding the temptations and potential relapse triggers in New York, they both decided they needed a fresh start in California. The industry was moving there in a big way at that time, too. In 1982, they packed their belongings into a black Dodge van and drove across the country. Stopping in Denver for a gig at the Capri Theater to help fund their trip, they finally settled in West Hollywood, where they found a welcoming community of industry insiders and a new lease on life. In Los Angeles, Edwards quickly secured acting work through his network, and these shoots funded a very comfortable lifestyle for them both. As a result, Lake's career in the industry became less prolific, and the roles dried up. Furthermore, Edwards was increasingly uncomfortable with her participation in films. He was well aware of her fragility, and all too aware of the potential for emotional and psychological harm. That being said, they did occasionally work together. A notable production was The Prey, a low-budget horror movie released in 1984. Outside of this, Lake secured a job as an aerobics instructor at a nearby gym. Here for a time, she seemed to have overcome her previous struggles. She was healthy, happy, and living a more normal lifestyle. However, this period of stability was short-lived. A party in their apartment building introduced them to PCP. This incident marked the beginning of a downward spiral. At the gym, Lake befriended a girl who, along with her boyfriend, was an addict. The influence of these new friends rekindled her old habits. She would disappear for hours and return visibly out of it. The situation deteriorated further when Edwards had to leave for New York to film a movie. Upon his return, he found Lake in a dire state. High and disorientated, she hadn't slept for days. Not wanting to leave her alone for his next shoot, Edwards took her to San Francisco with him. However, the environment only worsened her condition. Lake and another cast member began administering a cocktail of substances. Edwards, feeling helpless and desperate to connect with her, made the fateful decision to try it too. This was his first experience with such substances, and it marked the beginning of his own addiction. Back in LA, the couple's lives were consumed by it. Their once loving relationship was marred by dependency and despair. One night, as Edwards gazed out at the pool to their apartment, Lake announced she was leaving him. She then left their apartment, leaving behind all her belongings, and disappeared without a trace. All public record of her whereabouts ends here, and a 40-year mystery begins. Writer and journalist Jared Beasley has investigated the circumstances. In interviews, Edwards remembers vividly the moment he heard of Lake's overdose. It coincided with receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. However, discrepancies in his story cast doubt. The award from the Free Speech Coalition was in 1990, a year before Michelle is said to have died, and Edwards only mentions hearing the news from a guy at the ceremony. He provides no concrete details. Furthermore, the facts surrounding Michelle Carpenter's death are murky. A gravestone in Oswego, New York, bears her name, with dates suggesting it could be Lake's. Online sources mention her living in nearby towns like Mexico and Pulaski, both in Oswego County. However, on September 14, 1991, an obituary in the Watertown Daily Times announced the death of a Michelle Carpenter from cancer. The life written about diverges significantly from Lake's. This Michelle Carpenter was finishing business school in Syracuse in 1977, whereas Lake was already performing in live shows at Show World on 8th Avenue at this time. Moreover, this Michelle Carpenter was born Michelle Haganey and married Stanley Carpenter in 1984. Another Michelle M. Carpenter, currently residing in Mexico, Oswego County, adds to the intrigue. Age 65, Lake's approximate age, she is not Arcadia, however. It highlights the plausibility of faking one's death in a small town. Edwards has speculated on various reasons for Lake's disappearance. She might have left out of love, not wanting to drag him further down with her addiction. Alternatively, she might have fled in a desperate attempt to quit. Her feelings about the adult film industry may have also played a role. Edwards was deeply entrenched in it. He would go on to spend his entire working life in the industry. Lake may have realized she could never fully escape its shadow as long as they were together. Despite these insights, the evidence supporting her death from an overdose is scant. No newspaper reports, no media coverage, and no confirmed services mark her passing. It leaves only Edwards' account suggesting she, or even they, might have perpetuated the rumor to escape the past. Without concrete evidence, it's very plausible that Lake is alive, having disappeared to start anew. The mystery of her disappearance and apparent death remains one of the most compelling stories in the industry's history, leaving fans and friends to wonder what truly became of the enigmatic Arcadia Lake.